We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Align, and it is the podcast for chiropractors, where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another podcast for Wake Up Aligned. I am your host, Dr. Shannon McMurtry, and today I am flying solo. Well, that's not completely true because we have Snacks, the producer, in studio as well. We are without Tom, but he is having a very good time on a hunting trip right now. So I guess it's okay that we give him the week off, right? Yeah, we can do that. We're capable of handling this by ourselves. Well, I think you're aware that a pretty big holiday is coming up in a few days, and that holiday, of course, is Thanksgiving. So today's podcast is going to cover Thanksgiving and having a thankful heart. This is something that we do in our own family. We'll go around the table, and we're that cheesy family that says, "Hey, what are you thankful for?" And everybody has to come up with something. And it's funny to watch teenagers who don't normally think about being thankful try to struggle in the moment and come up with something. And it's also interesting to hear the grandparents and the older folks talk about what they're thankful for. They have a very good handle and a very good idea of what they should really be thankful for. I think a lot of us get caught up in the moment and we're thankful for something that happened yesterday or the day before. But if you listen to grandparents talk about being thankful, they talk about big things and very personal things and things that aren't related to the bank account or the winning team or whatever. So today we're going to talk about thankfulness and being thankful. My mentor, Dr. Owen, had a quote. He had a lot of quotes, but the quote on thankfulness was this: thinking good, thinking with an I, thinking good is thanking God, and thanking God with an A is thinking good. That's very, very true. And I'm going to go through some examples today that illustrate and shed light on how powerful that is. What are you thankful for? Like right now in this moment, I'm sure you've got a busy week of practice, probably a shortened week, most likely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You got a lot of patients that are counting on you. You're getting kind of in the holiday season here, family time. What are you thankful for right now? What are you thankful for? Don't just think about the superficial. Don't think about only what you've been working towards maybe this year, a goal or an accomplishment. Think about the stuff that's going to really mean something to you as you age. Like if you could fast forward to that week where it's your last week on earth, what would you be thankful for that week? Would you be thankful for your family? Would you be thankful for your health? Maybe you would be thankful for the country that you live in, or the freedoms that you enjoy, really without any thought. Maybe you're thankful for chiropractic care and what it's done for you and your family. What are you thankful for? What gives you an attitude of gratitude? What's the big stuff? Seriously, think about that right now. Take a few minutes and just let your mind go. If you talk to somebody who has a child who's had a pretty significant health struggle, either temporary or one that they've been battling their entire life, chances are you're going to hear them tell you how thankful they are to have days with their kiddo. If you know people who have had rocky relationships and marriages that have really gone through some challenges, some tough times, a lot of times you'll hear people tell you how thankful they are for their marriage or their spouse. See, there's some truth there, isn't there? There's some truth to say it's hard to think about being thankful just on the moment. It's much easier to be thankful for those big things when they almost slip through our fingers. I remember in 2001 when the World Trade Center towers were attacked in the Pentagon, and I remember that day. And I remember the church service that we had the following Sunday. And we sang patriotic songs in church. We'd never done that before. And people were sincerely thankful for New York and New Yorkers. Imagine that, Southerners, for the first time in their life, thankful for New York. I'm being glib, but you understand. Thankful for New York and thankful for New Yorkers. Thankful for the peace that they have every single day and not living under threat of attack. Are you thankful for people who put their lives on the line for that? See, the truth of the matter is, if you had to count your blessings, and not just the superficial ones, not just the ones that are right now, but really had to dig deep and think about the big ones, the ones that you overlook every day, you could spend a day, 2 days, a week, literally just naming off blessing after blessing after blessing. What do you think would happen to you if you did that? What do you think would happen to your attitude? What do you think would happen to your outlook? What would happen to your in-look if you really reflected on all that you have to be thankful for? Would it improve? Would you feel better about yourself? Would you be more optimistic, higher energy, more enthusiastic? Would you be more forgiving, more loving? How would you change if you literally did that exercise where you locked yourself in a room for a day or two and just wrote blessing after blessing after blessing? I have some experience with that. I have some experience with that concept of thinking good is thanking God, and thanking God is thinking good. There was a doctor that I worked with years and years ago. And this doctor was in a very challenging market. This doctor had been an associate in an office that did not appreciate them, did not really help them grow as a provider or grow in their career. In fact, was somewhat verbally abusive. This doctor had no support at home. The doctor's spouse and the children really did not support what they did. All they knew was it was a struggle, and they were tired of the struggle. This doctor was suicidal. And I don't think people say that lightly. Maybe they do. Maybe there's some people who say they're suicidal because they need attention, want attention. I don't know. I didn't get that sense with this doctor. This doctor was pretty far down in the dumps. And if I ask about the good news or something that was good or positive, week after week after week, I would get silence on the call. Maybe you can relate. When that doctor shared that they were suicidal, I really only had one play in my tool bag for coaching or mentoring. And it wasn't prayer. It wasn't go get an adjustment. The only play I had in that moment was thank you grams. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know what a thank you gram is, I would recommend that you Google thank you gram. And if you see something that's a little yellow post-it or a little yellow piece of stationery with a smiley face on it, you're on the right track. Basically, a thank you gram is a handwritten piece of stationery where you express gratitude and thankfulness to another person. So we talked about this tool. We talked about this concept. We talked about what there was to be thankful for. And as you could probably imagine, it did not go over well. There was a lot of resistance to this idea. But we kept at it. And about a week later, she asked, well, who do I send these to? Who would I be thankful for? I said, who would you not be thankful for? Do you have to take your garbage to a dump? Does it pile up in your house? Well, no. Have you ever think the garbage man gets a thank you note? What about the person that delivers your mail? What about the police in your town? What about the firefighters? What about the people who volunteer their time and their energy to beautify the landscaping around the town square? Nobody pays them to. They just do it because they have civic pride. Do you use an outhouse? Well, of course, the answer was no. What about sending a thank you note to the wastewater treatment plant? I bet they've never gotten one. Some of these ideas were completely out of her comfort zone. But fortunately, some she could see herself doing. And she started herself on a prescription of 3 thank you grams every single day. She started her day forcing herself to be thankful. And at first it was a challenge. And then as she got into the habit of doing it, and more importantly, she got the feedback from the people who received thank you notes and thank you grams, that put some wind in her sails. And soon she wasn't just satisfied with 3. She started doing more. She bumped it up to 5. Over the course of a few months, this doctor went from suicidal to many times the only thing we talked about on our phone call was what she was thankful for. 180-degree turnaround in her spirit, in her thinking, in her outlook, in her expectations. That's a good story. It's absolutely true. I mean, we like stories where there's a victory at the end. Here's what I want you to know. There wasn't one single thing that actually changed in her life. Still a very challenging market. Still had a history of not being appreciated at another office. Still no spouse support. Struggling in the clinic, in the business. But she went from the most depressed to the happiest. Was that an accident? No, of course not. Because you can't force yourself to be thankful and look for the good without it affecting your life. I remember once I wrote a thank you note to someone that made some business cards for me. And I put my payment, my check, we wrote checks back then, Ryan. Yeah. Wrote a check to this person who did the business cards, and about 30 days later, I got a late payment notification. Got a bill with red ink on it saying past due. Well, that rocked my world. I knew I had paid. So I looked at my check registry. Yep, there it was. I looked at my bank statement, never went through the bank. So I happened to be driving by that office, that business, and I stopped in and I said, "Hey, you did some cards for me. I appreciate the cards. I sent you a check, but apparently you guys didn't receive it." She said, "Yeah, the only thing that we received was your thank you note." And she pointed to the corkboard behind her desk. And there was my thank you note pinned to the corkboard. And I laughed. I said, "Would you take that down for a second?" And she did. I said, "Would you look inside that?" And there was the check still inside. Had a hole punched right through it where the pin went through. Imagine that. A business that was providing goods for payment got a thank you note from me. And that was more important than looking for the check. You don't think thank you notes and notes of appreciation are important? I will offer this. People do not feel appreciated or thanked in our society right now. And if you're the person that's doing that genuinely, sincerely, really finding something specific for which you are thankful, people will treat you differently because you treat them differently. See, this is all about an attitude of gratitude. And I think there are days that you have to fake it until you can make it. I think there are days that are more challenging to have an attitude of gratitude than others. I mean, let's face it. Let's be honest with each other. We all go through moments where, well, some days we're the windshield and some days we're the bug. But even in those days where things aren't going your way and it seems like you're getting one piece of bad news after another, surely there's something that you can be thankful for. Surely there is something that happens to you or that you take for granted that you can have an attitude of gratitude about. And if you don't know where to start, you can start with your family. You can start with your patients. You can start with your staff. You can start with the people who provide services and goods for your business, your neighbors. Here's a fun one. Send a thank you note to your kid through the mail. Especially if they're, 6, 7, 8, around that age. They never get anything in the mail. Developing an attitude of gratitude is a real important part of you being a thankful person and having a thankful spirit. Not just faking it, not just pretending to be, not just having it superficially, but genuine thankfulness. Haven't you noticed that people who have this quality, it's really hard to get them to be negative or think negative or talk negative? Dr. Owen, I remember he would be on his yacht and he would take a group of us doctors with him to his yacht out in the marina, and he would just sit there and look around all the millions of dollars worth of toys that people jumped on a couple of times a year. And he said, you can't thank poverty sitting in a marina. He's right about that. It's really hard to have a poverty mindset when you're surrounded by millions of dollars worth of toys. I think it's also true for people who have that attitude of gratitude and sincere thankfulness. Hard to be negative around those people. Question: are you that person? Are you the thankful person? Are you the negative person? Does it vacillate depending on the day and the circumstances you find yourself in? There was a person that Dr. Owen admired tremendously, and I got to meet this person. Her name is Jan Lane. Now, Jan Lane, what he admired about her was back in the 70s, Jan Lane would make $100,000 a month without a penny of her own money invested in the business. Dr. Owen took note of that person. That's unusual. But Jan Lane had a rule of life, a philosophy, a way of expecting. And she had one primary rule that she still practices to this very day. That rule is, I do not allow negativity. You will not be allowed to be negative, think negative, talk negative, act negative in the presence of Jan Lane. And she is ultra successful. Now, I'm not recommending you have an attitude of gratitude to be successful. I'm recommending you do it because it's the right thing to do. And I thought this message was appropriate, especially considering the holiday that's right around the corner. I want you to know that I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for those of you who are AMC Aligned members and members in good standing. I'm thankful that you are doing everything that you can to be better and grow and serve more people more effectively. I'm thankful for every person that came through AMC Aligned and decided to go a different path. Some of those people early on in my mentoring career made me the mentor I am today. They made me that way because they were a challenge. Probably didn't appreciate it back then, but I can certainly be thankful and appreciate it now. And whether you're an AMC Aligned family member or not, I'm thankful for you as a chiropractor. If anybody deserves some gratitude and some appreciation, it is a chiropractor rendering care to their community. Man, you guys do some amazing good out there. And I know that your patients sometimes appreciate it and tell you how much you mean to them. I want to tell you, you mean a lot to me. You mean a lot to my colleagues in AMC Aligned. And you mean a lot to the world. As you gather that precious family or with that precious family in a few days, try to be sincerely thankful and don't let it be a one-day event. You know, the Grinch carried Christmas and Scrooge carried Christmas in his heart that, the whole next year, those Christmas stories that we like. How about you carry thankfulness in your heart every day, 365 next year? Start this year, develop the habit, and keep that thankfulness and that attitude of gratitude in your heart from this point forward. That's my message today. I hope you got something out of it. I hope it is encouraging you to maybe change how you think, what you think about. And I really do hope you will take that challenge to count your blessings, to be sincerely thankful, and to reflect on those blessings every single day. Write your thank you notes. Let the people around you know how much they mean to you, how much you appreciate them, how they make your life easier and safer and more secure. Be the first to have that discussion. Break the ice. Until next time, I hope all of you will have a blessed rest of your day, a wonderful week of Thanksgiving, and we will be back together next week. Until then, God bless. And one more thing before we go. If you're a chiropractor who's searching for a better way to build a more sustainable, low-stress practice, then you can contact us at amcfamily.com. You can schedule a discovery session, or you can access any of our free content, webinars, podcasts, and the like.